New Dramatists and to our now annual admissions information meeting. We started hosting these sessions several years ago as a way to field any questions that people had about our admissions process, about our residency program, trying to inform as well as demystify what this, admissions process is, and some of the procedures, and just, again, to field any general or specific questions you might have about New Dramatists. We're going to go around, we're going to introduce ourselves as the panel, and then I'd love to do a quick go around the room to sort of just say your names so we know who we're sharing the room with. I just also want to say that this is really your session. We have information, we have a lot of knowledge here about the administration that leads up to the actual meetings and the meetings themselves, but this is really, I would love for what we say to be what you're interested in knowing, so we'll work dynamically to address those questions. Let's start with introductions. We're going to end with Morgan, and Morgan's then going to tell you also what he's doing here today. So I'm Emily Morse. I'm the artistic director of New Dramatists, and I'm very happy to see all of you here. Thank you for coming.
I'm Connie Hall. I'm an artistic programs producer at New Dramatists, and I'm a human being that answers the admissions@newdramatists.org email.
I'm Matt Freeman. I'm a current resident playwright who's here to answer a little bit about my experience on either side of applying and also being part of the admissions committee.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Damien Tarantano, playwright.
Great.
Tisdale.
Linda Manning.
I'm Meg, I'm an intern at New Dramatists, and I'm an admissions intern.
And I'm Monica Mass, and I'm also an intern here, and I'm also an admissions intern.
Devin Burham, playwright.
Amy Asher, playwright.
Great. We'll go around, sneak around, go in the back row.
Connie Davis.
Daniel Barron, playwright and performer.
Anna Brown,
Alex Rubin, playwright. Becca Plunkett, playwright.
Alex Silver,
Marisa Cole, playwright.
Yeah. We can assume that most are playwrights or composers, but you're welcome to say it. I'm all for empowerment of the playwright.
Well, let's switch it up. I'm Max Herman. I'm a playwright, composer, and a costume designer.
Danielle DeCraft, early career playwright. I'm Eliza Bent. I'm a playwright and a pundit.
I'm Joe Norton, and I'm a playwright.
Trina Hall, last name, playwright and producer. Jacqueline Goldfinger, playwright and dramaturg.
Sarah Mantell.
Ken Casey.
Drew Sachs.
Monica Raymond.
Kevin Curley, playwright.
Philip Christian Smith.
Joshua Young.
Emma Bolton Sherman, playwright and dramaturg.
Suzanne Willett, playwright.
Hi, I'm Morgan Allen. I'm the Director of Finance and Media here. We are recording this panel. We posted on the website for people that can't be here, as we've done in years past. So be aware, if you ask a question, your voice will be recorded for the world to hear. You are forewarned.
It's great. And also, I just want to say thank you for being a resource for any subsequent visitors to our website. I'm assuming that many of the questions you have are questions that other people have. So thank you for being that resource for your community of writers. So I'm going to do a little bit of the history and overview, talk about the philosophical approach and consensus. Connie can answer sort of the technical things as well as her experience as that the primary administrator for the process, and as Matt said, he is here as a fellow playwright who has been on both sides of the process, and so that's a unique, we all have unique perspectives in interfacing with this process. So as you may know, the admissions process is an almost year-round process for us. It starts with the opening of the admissions window, which happened, I think, at 10 a.m. on Friday, June 30th. and will remain open until 5 p.m. on Monday, July 31st. So we allow about a month to receive all your application materials. And they are checked. That human being aspect of this process, even though we now have a paperless process, is very important, that it is still human fielded, and so your materials are checked as they come in. They are, documented, and we never forget that there's a human being on the other side of that technological wall. So while this window is open, Connie and I build a 7-person committee. That committee consists of 3 current resident playwrights, 2 alums, and 2 outside professionals. It's a committee that changes over completely every year, and it's built very deliberately and intentionally to create diversity as well as a broad readership. We try to make sure that the 7 people have a really different, disparate tastes and subjectivities, that they're coming in from potentially different parts of the country, as this is a national residency program, and as well as just to make sure that we have good representation ethnically, racially, gender, generational, and geographical. As I said, the committee changes over completely every single year, as does, in a way, the definition of what is a new dramatist. The staff does not participate in decision-making. Rather, we facilitate a process for those 7 people to read and evaluate the applications, to meet 3 times, to discuss the work, to discuss the writers, and ultimately select an incoming group of between 5 and 8 writers. And in the course of that process, which really the meeting process happens between January and May, they are also charged with a sense of defining what is new dramatist to them. So essentially, we are also redefining what is new dramatist annually, as far as they're concerned. It's a big responsibility that they undertake and say yes to, which Matt can attest to. When the writers become residents here, we ask them for 3 things. One is to take full advantage of the resources of new dramatists and luxuriate in the community of fellow peer writers. 2 is to put new dramatists in their bio, because this is a place we don't sell any tickets, we don't have opening nights. It is a way of both recognizing the community that they're in, as well as the organization. And the other is to serve on the admissions committee one time in their 7 years. And it's like 7 people did it for them, they do it in turn for someone else. So that's why they get roped in. They get roped into doing it. There's no organizationally imposed criteria for what is a new dramatist. So as I said, it really comes from within that committee deliberation every year. As I said, okay, I already covered that the staff does not participate in the decision-making process. We facilitate process. So it's a very thoughtfully deliberated and considerate process, and I would say a really difficult one, because there are always more good writers than we can afford to support every year. So we get about 450, just average, applications, and we ultimately bring in between 5 and 8. So I would say there are more good writers who who are left out of that 5 and 8 than not. And so the advice I give before we move on to some other aspects of this is that you never know when you're going to meet your committee, so you just have to apply, because it does change every year. And now, having done it for 15 years, it's wild. It's really wild how differently people read, what they get excited about. I mean, that's what makes it interesting every year, is to be a part and listen to those conversations, to hear how differently people read and what they get excited about, and then how over those 3 meetings, and each of those meetings is about between 12 and 15 hours long. These are not, casual conversations. They're very deep and thoughtful conversations about the work. And so that's what's really interesting, is to see then what starts to emerge as the consensus. And it's not, it's emotional, I would say. I don't want to say anything more about that. So I see that as a way to kind of look. Most people who are resident company members have applied multiple times. That's just the nature of the metrics of it, or how it works. But it's never a comment on your talent or what your value. It's really about what that committee, what they can arrive at by consensus. And that committee changes every year, and so therefore so does the subjectivities and their tastes and what they're interested in and what they get excited about. So that's my little cheerleading moment, but we can return to that. All about the cheer. Any questions so far about that part? Okay.
We can certainly ask questions again after we're finished talking. So I'll just step you through really quickly the materials and the process for submitting your applications online. These handouts that you have, they're available for download on the website. Please read them first before you start your application. Also on the website is you can see step by step what you're going to be asked to upload or fill out. So please read that first. So as you know, the window opens on Friday at 10 a.m. We already have quite a few submitted and begun. And it'll be open for another month until July 31st at 5 p.m. Just want to stress what Emily said about that we do look at the applications as they come in. Special shout out to May and Annika, who do carry the bulk of that work in logging in your applications, and they're primarily checking to make sure that they're complete, that you've uploaded everything, and that they're in the proper format. So I would really strongly encourage you to submit early in the window, because if we are moved to make an exception and let you resubmit materials, if, for example, you have put your name on the blind copy of the script, we are more likely to make exceptions earlier in the window. We cannot make exceptions on the last day of the window. Absolutely cannot do it because of the way that the applications come in. It's usually half of them come in up until the last day, and then half of them come in on the last day. So
we
really,
have a big numbers party.
please
We start
taking bets. We guess the numbers. A really exciting day. It's like Super Bowl. So again, please, as early as possible. Okay. So there's a 7-tab form. Go to newdramatists.org/admissions. The link is here as well. You're going to be asked first to certify that you are a U.S. citizen. It's all written down for you here. And then the next tab, you're going to enter your contact information. And I'm kind of stepping through just like the second section of this handout here, if you want to follow along with me. On the third tab, you're going to either enter or copy and paste a letter of intent. So that's a one-page, the equivalent of a one-page letter. You can write it in Word and then copy and paste it into the form. Just know that some of your formatting will drop out, like italics and bold. This is something that's actually changed from last year. So how many people have applied before? So quite a few, okay. So the letter has changed. Just to reflect a little bit from the feedback that we got from the last panel, what kind of information they're looking for at that moment in the process. Because if we are reading this letter of intent, it is during the second half of the final admissions meeting. At that point in the process, you already have people in love with your work. There are already people, you've already gotten to the point where at least one person on the committee, more likely there's a sense of agreement around your work, and this is a way for them to get to know you as a person and for you to provide context to the materials that you have submitted. So things we wouldn't necessarily be able to understand from a resume or bio, like for example, I grew up one of 12 children in a small town in Ohio, or and that influences my work, or just a little bit about who you are, where you're writing, what the places you're writing from, and any, if you think there might be something helpful you can offer the panel in terms of why you chose what play and why you chose one to be your A and one to be your B. So it's your opportunity to provide context. Do you want to say some more?
Yes, because I think this is really important to note that the committee is not picking plays, right? They're picking writers. And so essentially, with the focus of the first two meetings and half of the third is really on the work, they're intuiting who you are through the plays that you submit. So as Connie was saying, I want to hit that note a little harder, which is the point at which we introduce those letters of intent, they want to hear directly from you. Right? So that's the opportunity where you as the playwright step into the room differently than what has been discussed in the prior meetings, if that makes sense, right? So just to say the first two admissions meetings and half of the third are focused, the conversations are about the work. Candidacy doesn't come up, nothing else. It's really about the strength of feeling for the work. So then at that point, as Connie was saying, that the interest in the work and the strength of feeling kind of goes without saying halfway through that third meeting. So this is an opportunity to add another element that helps them winnow the list further away. Yeah, go ahead.
Are they read out loud?
Yes, we do read them out loud. Yeah, we sort of pass them around, we do round robin so that the voices are introduced into the conversation, essentially. It's a great question.
Is this meant to be anonymous with no name attached as well?
No. At this point, we know who you are.
Yeah. The first part of the reading up until that first meeting is blind reading.
And this isn't something you upload. You actually can either write it into the form or you can copy and paste it.
I have to say, as somebody who submitted several times before I got into, I was surprised, because I never went through what you're going through now, I was surprised as a committee member of how late in the process I read the statements, right? We were almost done by the time I was reading the statements. So it really is a closing argument,
Yes.
right? It is, why me, right? And it really felt like what we were looking for at that point was, I love all of these writers. What is your passion about new dramatists? Sometimes, for some people that was important. Or what is it that you're super excited about? Just biography was a little less the point than who are you? And everybody expresses that differently in their writing. Maybe it's a very strong voice or a humorous voice, or maybe it's a real need for community, or maybe it's just a love of this institution. But whatever it was it felt like that. It felt like, all right, we're down to the wire, let's bring in the closing statements, and we all read them aloud, and they felt a lot more like, the last thing to say before the jury deliberates.
Yeah, no decision is made based on those, but they're additive, essentially.
Can I just ask how many of those are actually read? Like what shortlist number are we talking about?
It's
About 15
It's really down.
out of about
Right.
400, between 400 and 450.
So it's weirdly more important than I thought. Like it was a bigger deal than I thought it was going to be in a way. Yeah.
Does the one I submitted before, does one have a history that is looked at?
You mean an applicant?
How often you submitted, kind of thing?
How often you submitted and what was the...
As far as we're concerned, that it's almost that is irrelevant to the new committee in terms of, because again it's so subjective. There are people sometimes who are cut early, and sometimes and then that person might be a finalist the next year, and then they get that it can be that wild. So no, it doesn't come in as information because presumably most people have applied before, and we feel like everyone starts from the same starting point in a way. Cool. Go ahead, We'll hold your question and we'll go.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. How much weight is given to professional resume in terms of actual productions for those of us who are quote unquote emerging in our real life?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I only was on the committee once, and so I can only speak to what my experience was, because every committee is, based on my experience, every committee must be wildly different, because I can't imagine a committee replicating my committee, right? But I would say that knowing people, everybody in that room is in theater working, and many of us are emerging. I am emerging. So if they've heard of you, we're not going to ignore that. Like if you have a play at Playwrights Horizons and everybody knows it, it's not going to be off the table to discuss.
What if you haven't?
But if you haven't, which I never have, I think it probably will be brought up, like we don't know this person, but that can be exciting. People are excited to find a voice they're excited about that they don't know, right? So it's not like one thing is weighted, it's brought up in the room. I would say it's brought up in the room. But if you're exciting and new to people and they love your play, you're going to get a champion whose value is, you know what, I don't know if this person who's already this far in their career needs this as much as this new person. And someone else might say, well, look, this person who's very far in their career, they have this really cool, exciting voice, and I want to support it. So it's going to be a part of the conversation, but it's not going to be the only part of the conversation. It's going to depend on the values of the people in the committee. Is that
I
helpful?
would say that in a way, there's no weight placed on it in terms of the criteria for entrance into Dramatists is the strength of feeling about the work itself. That it does come up, that the resume, if it's referred to or if someone knows, becomes part of the discussion, but it's not the basis upon which decisions are made.
Right.
It's not as if somebody said, oh, they were produced at Playwrights Horizons, we should let them in the same way that it's versus, it's really about the strength of feeling about the work itself.
Yeah.
Like the
People are very protective of that.
Yeah, and the first two meetings, like I said, all that's discussed is the work itself, not the resume, not the letter of intent, not what people know. It's really tries to be about the work, and that's part of our job, in a way, is to pull the conversation back to how do you feel about the work? What is the strength of feeling about the work versus what the credits are, because that's, within this community, we have people who are in all states of their career, status of their career, early, mid, later, people working with companies, people who have never been produced, and it's all, we want to support writers who are writing, not just who is being produced. So that's my sort of.
Okay, thank you.
It's good. It's good.
Let me go over here and then come back. Did you have a question?
Oh, yeah,
And then I'll come
it
back.
kind of involved a little bit listening to this, but I was curious, I'm trying to think, if one has something that you feel is actually like the most sort of like encompasses your voice, this is the thing that will grab you, but also is a one-man show or something like that, which would not be the direction that you're going, or really even a thing for consideration. I'm wondering,
Why would it be a thing?
rambling. I don't know. I guess I'm just projecting. Yeah, this is not a very good question.
It's a question,
wondering,
what to submit.
Yeah, sort of, or what's not so much what's the most resume-friendly thing, but what's the most my voice thing, and how to fit that into the larger context of the
It
application.
sounds like you just kind of answered your question, which is submit the thing that has the strongest your voice in it. Whatever that is.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that people responded most to strong voice as opposed to, oh, I see what this writer is doing.
Okay.
Right? If they felt like they were being strategized at or something, they know that. They would also have submitted, right? And so, and I would say this for myself, and I can only speak from my own experiences. I'd submitted in the past, and I thought, well, maybe they like this, or maybe they want that. And then I had a play that was very not the kind of play I like, but plays it's literally a play I've never produced and continue not to produce. And it's my choice. No, it's not. But but I finally submitted that play, and that's the play that got enough passion in the room to get me in here. So it was the play that I thought was the weird one, but it was my strongest voice. So I think that is probably going to be valued by the committee more than, oh, I think this is producible, or whatever.
We're not picking plays to produce, and it's sort of back to what you were talking about before with
That was the point, yeah.
that resumes that as Emily said before, the committee's trying to intuit the writer through the work, and we're selecting people, not plays.
And they're, right, and they're fellow writers, so they don't have to be the season. They don't care if it's producible or not producible. They're looking for the thing, and more often than not, that they wish they wrote. They're like, oh my God, I wish I did that thing. That thing is so cool, and that's what you're getting. These are writers for the most part. 2/3 of the committee are writers, and they want to get excited about another writer. That's how it works here. That's how the dynamic is here. So you don't worry about whether or not it's producible. Go with where your strength is, and consider this: that you have a committee of 7 people. They're reading, collectively, they're reading, 800 plus plays. Not all. They are not necessarily all reading the same thing. So you pick the thing that you're on fire about, because chances are that will ignite their fire too. In the midst of all that reading, you want the thing that's like burns hot for you. Okay, that's what I would tell you. Don't second guess what you think they want. They want to be excited. So go with what you think is exciting for yourself. Yes.
I have 2 questions, sorry. Do both plays get read?
Yeah, can I actually start, because I'll launch us into the next thing, which is, we've already sort of hit the bio, right? The next tab is...
One question about the letter of intent, sorry.
Oh, sure.
Is it important to include how, do they want to know how the writer would benefit from being a member of the Dramatists, or is that less important?
I think that's important, and it's part, it was the prompt that we had last year was the last part of this prompt. It's like embedded in there is what do you see as the benefits of being part of this community?
Because the thing is, while each person self-directs their 7-year trajectory or their 7-year residency, you're doing it in the company of other writers doing the same thing. So the benefits of the company are a huge resource, and we can talk about more how that works. And so it isn't just I'm going to come in and develop my work in a void. You're going to come in and develop your work over 7 years as you wish to in the company of about 49 other people doing the same thing. And there's tremendous benefit by having such a diverse and eclectic company around you, because those resources that you're able to share become pretty vast in terms of whose experiences are, are imparted in a way that helps build both the individual and the collective. That makes sense. Do you? One second. Is there more?
I can pause.
Any more
Well,
on that?
because I want to make sure that she's getting.
I just want to make sure we get sort of the basics down for anyone who needs somehow step into the application form itself. But this is fantastic. Perfect segue.
Exactly what we asked.
Anything else on the letter of intent, just for the moment, because we can always circle back to it later. No. So,
Strictly a page?
no, not strictly.
But recommended.
Recommended.
We've already read a lot.
15 hours long.
People are looking at this at hour 10 of a 15-hour meeting.
I don't know what you gain from more than that in a sense, like, but you're not going to be disqualified.
Okay, good. So the next tab, we're on tab 4 now. You have the flexibility to either upload, copy and paste, or enter in the field your current artistic bio or resume or CV. So whatever you feel best represents you, we're totally flexible with that stuff.
So I have a question as a truly emerging playwright. What would you recommend somebody do who doesn't have production history that would be different than what would be in the previous tab? This piece about, who am I, where does my writing come from?
We didn't go CV or bio.
Yeah, if you really don't have professional credits to put down.
Do you have educational credits to put down?
You can do it. You can can also do a narrative,
Yeah.
like a paragraph just about what you have been doing. You know, that's slightly different from your letter of intent. You know, again, those really are resources available to the committee, mostly to which people refer mostly for verification. Like, I think I know this person from years ago. I went to theater camp with them. And I mean, it's mostly verification of something that they sense versus, well, how much have they been produced or where have they been produced? It's not that kind of reference point. You know, that's
Honestly,
just,
the production history only came up if the person had such a public production that everybody had to sort of acknowledge it. Otherwise, it kind of didn't come up at all. So, if you're concerned that you don't have enough production credits to feel good about the CV or something, I wouldn't worry about it. I think people are going to be focused on the play.
Yeah, you're evaluated on the 2 plays, not on what else is there. That's,
Yeah, can I just say one thing? Like, when I was applying here, I always had this sort of fear that there was a sort of a resume, a preferred resume, right? Like, look at the credits of the people who get in. They all went to Brown, they all went to Yale, they all went, right? You know, there's a sort of like preferred whatever that I felt. And when I was on the committee, I have to say I was really proud of the fact that that just wasn't really the case, right? That every committee has its own values, and the staff does this great job of making sure that we're all defining that for ourselves, but because it's writers primarily, and actors who just want to be excited about what they're reading because they want to say that stuff.
sometimes actors.
Sometimes actors, that was on my committee, there was an actor who was like, this sounds great to do, right? So, the process has a lot of integrity, and I can speak from experience with that, especially as someone who was afraid that it was, okay, there's a community in a resume that's going to be highlighted above the work. It's really the other way around. That stuff is super supplemental, and it comes into the room. It's mostly everybody navigating what they know, not weighing that stuff. Is that helpful?
any other questions on the bio resume CV? No? Okay, great. So the next 2 tabs are uploading your 2 plays. So for each play, you're going to upload a standalone title page that includes your full name and your contact information. And then for each play, it needs to be a blind copy of 2 original full-length works. I'm going to go ahead and just read these bullet points because they're really important. Please do not put any identifying information in the script documents, including your name, contact information, theaters that have workshopped or produced your plays, your agent, special thanks, actors, production crew, etc. Anything that's going to tell us who authored this.
Don't be sneaky.
This is also very important. Every script page must be numbered. And every script page must include the play's title. I'm not going to disqualify you if the script if the title's somewhere on the document, just somewhere on the document, have the title of the play. Not your name, but the title of the play.
Again, in that sea of reading, it really helps.
It really helps anchor people. These panelists are reading upwards of 160 plays each. It's a lot to track. So you're helping yourself by just making sure these are formatted correctly.
It might seem ultra specific, but again, this is feedback that comes from the committee as we ask them every year. What can we do better? How does this work? What do we need to, keep up with a very demanding challenge?
And to that point, to this year, for the first time, we're requiring that the script documents are in PDF format only. So that is just a result of the different ways now that panelists are accessing the plays. They're reading them on their gadgets. It's becoming problematic for them to be opening Word documents in other file formats. So please convert it to PDF. If it's a real deal breaker problem for you, reach out to me and we'll help you get that converted. But please don't upload Word documents or other file formats. the importance for the identifying information not being there, I mean, that is unfortunately something that is an eligibility requirement. You'd be disqualified. And the reason being that your A plays will be circulated blind for the first, right up until the first meeting. So up until the first meeting when they see the agendas printed out, before that, they do not know who has written the plays. So in that way, we're really ensuring that it's the merit of the work and it's the response to the work that's leading the way that the plays are received. So
this goes to your question that, the guarantee is that we read everyone's A play, and as people advance in the process, we introduce the B play as well. The one advantage, and this is something that comes internally, is that, and this was something within the resident company, we have what's called a writer's executive committee. That is when someone becomes a resident member of New Dramatists for the 7 years, they can volunteer to be on the writer's executive committee. Matt is a member of the writer's executive committee.
I volunteer for lots of stuff.
He says yes to
That's why I'm here.
And so essentially it's a very important organizational and governance body within this organization. So that we take all matters of decision-making, many matters of decision-making to the Writers' Executive Committee for either their input, their feedback, or like I said, their decision-making. 4 members of our Writers' Executive Committee sit also on our Board of Directors, and they are full members of our Board of Directors. They're voting members and fully participants. So that's the way, sort of 3 arms of the organization are the staff, the Board of Directors, and the Writers' Executive Committee. And they're, we have constant communications between all 3. So going back to this question about whip plays and how they're read. So when we eliminated letters of recommendation, one of the things that the writers exec said, but this is a community, we would still like to be able to advocate for a writer, but we don't necessarily want to write a letter of recommendation. So what we do in response to that request is circulate the list of applicants to the 50 resident playwrights. They can choose one writer to advocate in favor of, and that means that that person's B play is also read in the first round. Automatically. That doesn't mean other people's B plays aren't. So that's the only advantage. It doesn't change the status. It doesn't leverage them any differently because, again, it's a blind reading process, and so people don't know if they're reading an A play or a B play, or who wrote it, or who advocated for it. That information is not public to the reading committee. You had a question.
Yeah, it says the A play only read once for the first level of elimination.
Before the first round,
First round, A plays read.
Sometimes.
So, I mean, trying to think of a situation where that wouldn't be the case. Possibly if I know that it's not a blind read, I might reassign it. For example, if someone's like, I've worked on this play, I would reassign it to someone, know the writer.
And if a play does have a production history or has been published, does that matter?
No, that's absolutely great. Just don't include it in the script document that you upload to the website. Yeah.
What if you have a play that was created with a collaborator or with a theater company through a devised process?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple of those in my year. I mean, if you are the author of the script, then you are the author of the script, regardless of the process by which you came to that. So I think that's, it's becoming more and more common to find these like kind of cool, crazy formatted, who made this thing. But if it was a process that you authored, even if that's what you did, author the process, I think that's.
I think maybe if you can just be transparent about that, so that the committee has as much context and understanding for what what kind of authorship you're claiming, because it's still the written, that document is what they have, and by uploading it to the application, you are claiming this is your own original work. Did you have questions?
In that vein, multimedia, the use of recordings or projections or actual media art can be included like JPEGs or MP3s, and what if the recordings might reveal some kind of personal information, you know, for people's mind, just for your
Yeah, I mean, we have, in terms of like JPEGs, whatever, if it's embedded in the script document, it can get uploaded. But there's no extra, there's no form for uploading any other file format besides MP3s or M4As if you have sound or music samples. For the most part, this is essentially for music samples to accompany a libretto.
Right.
We haven't really talked about accepting sound design files, but you know, conceivably we could.
I would say, I mean, it's a really interesting question and a challenge. I mean, I would say that once a resident playwright comes into New Dramatists, they can work on what they want to work on as they do, which would include multimedia. But I think it's important that still in the admissions process that you're able to deliver some form of text through which the committee can intuit that aspect of your creative process, even though your creative process, once you come in here, might be multimedia.
So like a description can suffice, like, you know, in this area, according to these, blah, 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 rather than.
Yeah. I think so. Because I think that I think things that are reliant on having seen it is not, it's not necessarily in your best interest that that's how it's conveyed. There have been plenty of, and we can talk afterwards. I can give you examples of people who are more multimedia creators, but still had texts that they could submit for entry to New Dramatists. But once they got in, they worked in this sort of more multimedia way. So, and I can show you scripts that I mean, people who work choreographically, for example. How is that noted on the page? So there are ways, but I think still in that is this admissions process, you want to try to, you know, use text as the carrier of your voice with description. Does that make sense? Okay, good.
I think the question is your question. If I'm setting something that's an adaptation, I just cite the book that you're adapting.
I'm sorry, Richard.
An adaptation, you just cite the book that you're adapting?
Adaptations are disqualified.
Well, we've actually changed the wording, and that was like I was getting to that question just now.
It's like you were planted.
You were right. It was like exactly the right moment.
Perfect time.
Well done. We've actually changed the requirements, although subtly. Up until this year, we have stated under the please do not submit part, we've said translations or adaptations of previously published material. We've taken the word adaptations out because it started to become too tricky a thing for us to be treating as an eligibility issue. In other words, at the staff level, for us to be diving into a play and trying to determine whether or not this is an adaptation or whether or not this represents the applicant's original work, own original work. We started to, I mean, that really became more an issue that the panel was looking at and determining. Yes, this is an adaptation, it's not eligible. But really more what was going on is that the panel's looking at plays and determining whether it's original work or not. So it's actually was becoming much more a competitiveness issue and not an eligibility issue. So I do not encourage you to submit an adaptation unless you feel incredibly strongly that it is your best, most original work, and that it is not dependent on the source material to stand on its own. So no, we don't want, I think your question was, do you want to include the book or something that is cited? To cite it, yeah, I don't know that that's.
Like we read plays that were like there's so many plays that have like a Shakespeare spine somewhere, right? And so it's not a bad thing, but it is true. And so sometimes as you're reading, you're like, oh, this is Macbeth, right? Oh, did I say it? So it is the Scottish play. Whoops, it's not a theater, it's a church. I don't know.
Public assembly.
Whatever, it happens. Too late. You're all cursed. So, but so sometimes that emerges to you from the script, but it's not necessarily that the script is an adaptation, as much as it's an homage or it's using that material to deepen, right? So it became it was immediately hard to sort of parse that. So I'm glad that you guys are being a little less, because the committee will figure it out. But if it's definitely like, I took a book and, turned it into a play, then that's,
It's not going to be competitive.
it's not going to be good.
I don't think it serves you in your best way. Once you're in, you can work on the adaptation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to close us out here with just with stepping through the application part. After you've submitted your 2 plays, designated which one's the A and which one's the B, then the last tab is you can click submit. Up until that moment, when you click submit, you are able to return your application and edit it at any time. Once you click submit, you can't get back in. I forgot what I was going to say. Hold up. Yeah, so, okay. So after you click submit, you'll get a confirmation email. So if you don't get the confirmation email, your application's not done yet, okay? So just make sure you've actually submitted it. You're not done until you're done. And then once you get that confirmation email, if you did want to upload music samples, Max, then you will at that moment be sent a link. You'll click the link and upload up to 5 files. So you should be ready to upload those all at once, because it's just one form. And that's really it. I'm just going to say again and read aloud under the please do not submit. 1-act plays are 10-minute plays, recommendation letters, translations of previously published material, screenplays or teleplays, or special thanks, or any identifying information in those scripts. I think that's it for the application part.
Eliza.
I know the answer to this question, but I just want to know for sure.
Sure.
So you can submit the same play if you have a class who has
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
You can submit all the same materials. I mean, the same, but it's not being evaluated as new values and it's new peeps.
Great. And then if you have a one-person show that is the most representative of your voice, that's okay.
Sure, we've had many one-person plays. I mean, I could look at Dale Orlandersmith or Taylor Mack, and before he wrote, pageants, there were often solo performances, and I think it's the committee determined that the voice and the writing was compelling. It wasn't independently of him as a compelling performer or her as a compelling performer. So yes, yes is the easy.
It just has to be a full evening of theater. That's the way Emil's going to look at this. Does this represent a full evening at the theater?
I would say the panel definitely has a personality all its own. So submitting the same material twice, you will have a different panel that is going to have a different set of values and look at these things differently. That's why applying a lot is the right thing to do. I mean, it's not just stubbornness. It's the answer that's going to change year to year. Everybody is so different, and even in the room, I was with writers who had very different sense of aesthetics and value and what they care about compared to me. So we were often negotiating. Matt, you should read this one. This is really your thing, right? So if I'm not in the room, no, my thing is not being read or read in the same way I would, right? So just make sure that you're just representing yourself and keeping at it for real. And the other thing I thought was sort of interesting, just as a writer, learning about this from the other side, was that the A and the B play, I had thought, well, maybe I'll show some range, right? I can do one thing and then I can do something different, and that shows I have this skill. But really, we're reading the tea leaves about who you are as a writer from the A and the B play. So if the A play and the B play feel like they're from different writers, it might just confuse the panel, right? I mean, I'm just saying that because I was surprised to learn that being on the panel. That instead of saying, wow, this writer has tremendous range, they can write a completely traditional play and also this experimental play, often the room read that as, I'm not quite sure which writer this is, right? Now, I personally value range, and I think that that's tremendous. But I will say, you are communicating with a committee of people who don't necessarily know you, and they're just trying to figure out who you are. So think about that as you're selecting your A and your B. What are you saying about yourself as a writer? You know, maybe range is what you want to say, but I'm just saying that if what you're communicating is unclear, it may be unclear to the panel. Right? So that's just a thought.
Yeah, I was curious about knowing that you're kind of going with, you get like one read. There are times in my experience as a playwright when I've sat in a room and something's been going around and directors working with people, and he said, like, what do you think? I'm like, I think this is a comedy. and he says, okay, guys, let's think about this. And all of a sudden, this thing that was a train wreck suddenly snaps into focus. Without saying, like, anything like that, can you say how to address maybe, like, just my own production intention as a writer? To be like, I think this has this tone, or...
Man, the stage directions, I mean, I cannot believe how stage directions are now. But they're great and full. So just say it. I mean, you know, it's now in the realm of possibility to, in your stage directions, in your, you know, say, here's what I'm trying to do. And the committee reads that and does not think that's cheating. You know what I mean? It's okay to put it in your text.
And in that conversation, I mean, I also, as a writer, I like to say, I think it's this. If it's not, I am 100% open to that. You know what I mean? If it turns out I was wrong, that's cool.
Sure, I wouldn't say that the committee is going to be in trying to outsmart you. You know, they're going to read what you think it is and read the play and see if you succeed.
Right. Yeah, totally. Thank you.
I don't know if this is like a strange question, but are you looking for, or at least for one, are you looking for like a perfect play, or are you looking for, you know, I'm submitting this because it's something I hope to develop further, within a large community to benefit, or are you looking for a play that we feel is, this is my best work, this is what it is,
Can I just say something? We can't really hear.
Oh, what she just asked is, are you looking for a perfect play, or is it okay to submit things that you're developing? Is that basically the question?
Yeah, finished, but, to say, even in the letter of intent, you want to submit this because I feel like it would
Benefit from
being here.
So degrees of doneness, so to speak, or
We're not selecting plays to develop.
Right.
In other words, it's writers,
Right.
so to support. So
it'll depend on your committee too.
I'll shortcut this. I will say, perfect, we'll put that word perfect aside. I would say Waiting for Godot might be a perfect play. But otherwise, I think finished, I think you should submit finished work. Because I think what they're, in terms, again, that sea of reads that they're reading through, they want to feel that the play is complete. That doesn't mean that it isn't going to be worked on, but that it had, it fulfills your intention when you deliver it to people who are eager and hopeful every time they open a play to read. And this happened, I think, in this recent committee, if not in past. The incomplete work can be very frustrating because they're like, what's the end? What's the end? You know, because I think the end often informs the beginning or the middle. So I would say that the simple answer is please submit what you feel is at least finished work, even though you may still be developing it. Because I think that that's fair to the committee and to yourself.
I would read stuff that would have a question mark, you know, this or this happens, or, you know, things that were showing me they weren't done yet. And I would say, this is great, but I'm not going to finish it. You know, you submitted this to New Dramatists, right? And there's plenty of plays that are done, or at least are looking done in front of me, right? So I think, if you're in process, we're all in process.
In process, and then, you know, we feel it's flawed because
I'm allergic to straight A students, so I don't know. I don't mind flawed. Flawed is awesome. Most of the time, it's everybody's favorite thing. But it's not. But it's if you're showing your work too much, maybe is that the way to put it? Maybe not. I don't know. Just if it does, if you're showing that it's not finished yet, then we're not. Yeah.
I don't know. I would say this. This will seem like an indirect way. Might seem like a non-answer to your question, but I think it's an important thing. 7 years of time and space is a commitment to that you're making, in addition to what the organization is making, to the writer who is going to embark on this 7-year exploration of their work on their terms. And so I think that there's something about the completed script that is a kind of it's an unspoken contract that you know how to use or take advantage of this gift of time, the gift of space, and the gift of a community of wildly different other kinds of creators. So I think that it's I think it's in your best interest to submit things that are completed, at least in a draft. It doesn't have to be the 8th draft or the published version, but it's something that demonstrates your commitment to your own intention as a writer, or as a creator or a maker, whatever that makes sense. And I think with the committee, again, reading so many things, that they might be able to say, wow, this is a really interesting beginning, but without that final push towards the end, I don't know where to put this. They seem maybe too nascent, even if you're not. So I think, if that makes sense, that you go with your completed work, go with what you're excited by in your own, where you are in your exploration, and that's what you hope that the committee says, yes, we want to invest in this. Because I think it goes without saying that you're going to keep developing work, but I think it's hard to assess incomplete work on this level. Yes, Mom.
Can you talk a little bit more about the process between the first meeting, the second meeting, and the third meeting? Like, you get your 400 scripts, and everybody
Get 400 applicants.
400 applicants.
Yeah,
Well, 400 A scripts, right?
400 applicants, each of whom have submitted a plan to be played.
Right. Yeah. So what happens? What happens? Do people just thumbs up, thumbs down, and they give it a number? How does it all?
Once the window is closed and the panel's been assembled, we begin to distribute the A plays among the panelists. We look at the calendar and work backwards from the end of the season when we know the writers will be announced, and determine based on that whether or not we need to bring in alumni as volunteers to also read that in that first round. Since we moved the process to an online process, we had a big bump in applications, so we weren't able to have just the 7-person committee. They just didn't have time to read all of the plays in time for the process to be completed in 9 months. So we needed to bring in volunteers. So we do have alumni who will come in and read during that preliminary period period of time, the very first reads. In the last few years, we've had a scoring system. And then we have a preliminary phone call where on a numbers-based recommendation is discussed among the committee, and some applicants may be let go at that point. And then we continue to primarily circulate the A plays. In some cases, we'll be circulating B plays as well, essentially when it's a recommended. An applicant who's been recommended by a current resident writer, their B plays will be read as well. And then those applicants are discussed at the first meeting. So every single applicant who was not let go of the preliminary phone call will be discussed. So
Is that
after
like
the
half of the applicants, or?
yeah, a little less than half usually,
Okay, so we're down to
about 200.
200.
that are
At that point, those people are discussed, those
Those are
in the first
discussed,
meeting.
and it's
And they've
determined
been
whether or
read
not
by just
additional.
one person, but at that point, they've been read by more
At the first meeting, it can still be just one person has read the play.
Yeah, right? I think so.
But most often there's at least 2 reads by the first meeting. If everything works perfectly in terms of the working with the numbers of readers that we have, then there will be 2 reads on each play by a panelist at the meeting.
Okay, and what else is that?
And then we just try to hit some consensus about, is this person moving forward based on the excitement of the person who read the play and how they speak to the room about it and whether or not other people want to hear more. And also, if there's 2 reads, are those people in agreement, right? Do people want to move forward or back? It's a very in-depth conversation about basically everyone in front of us. All the meetings are very long because we don't want to, we all are you. So we do not want to feel as if we have passed anybody over and not giving them a full read. So even if only one person reads it, the whole committee listens to them speak about the play. I mean, it's not thumbs up, thumbs down process. It's definitely everybody talks about the work process.
Because I know and I think that's a good question about it. So they read 10 plays every 2 weeks. That's the kind of reading schedule. That's all the way through the preliminary and first round. And that continues between the first and second and third reading. But what they read obviously is changing, and there are more people who end up, they accrue more readers until the end where everybody's reading all the plays. But each person is making a recommendation about what they think should happen to the play, but no determination is made until it's discussed. So that's the thing about those first meetings, is that there will be people who have recommended that this person advances or this other person is rejected at this point in the process, but no determination is made until they're discussed as the group. And then the group decides whether they want to uphold the recommendation or if there are any outstanding questions that need more information, then they volunteer as a committee to do that work, whether it's to read the other play or to read the A play again, or to they'll tell us how they want the plays to be circulated.
Okay, now I'm serious.
Okay. I'm really good at that.
Okay,
Confusing
so
people.
at first it sounded like everybody read the plays that they received, and half of them they said, nah, and that's it, that never got discussed. Is that correct?
Okay, so that's what's, okay.
Yeah.
There is a ranking system in that preliminary round that we had to implement a kind of another phase of the process to deal with it.
The numbers,
to get
the
it
volume,
finished,
to get
yeah.
the volume.
Yeah, and so we have a ranking system that has qualitative terms, and people do rank the plays with those terms, and then we aggregate the numbers and take those numbers to the committee for their recommendations about what to do with those plays.
What do they want to let go of at this point, and what do they feel, how do they want to spend their energies in terms of reading and discussing?
And the ranking has information to support, in addition to the qualitative terms that are applied to the numbers, they are also asked to provide substantiation of why they gave something a particular ranking. And part of our job is to really interpret the feedback, to see where the questions are, to see where we feel that maybe there needs to be another read, you know.
Okay, okay, so now you come to this meeting and everybody's enthusiastic about their play, because if not, it's got it done. So at that point, you have 200 plays that at least one person likes enough to have sent it to the movie, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, not necessarily. They've recommended to either advance or reject, but all those recommendations are brought into the discussion at that meeting.
So all 400?
200, no.
No, there are.
It depends.
It
depends on how
depends.
many
It's not a cut and dry
It's not a
process.
cut and dry process. So like if we read 1,000 plays,
Yeah.
right, as a group,
Mm-hmm.
and assessments are made based on those plays, it could be that half of them move forward in the process and then we have a lot to read. It could be less, it could be more, right? It's a artistic judgment. I mean, it's impossible for it to be that cut and dry, but we're trying to get it down to 8 people. So there's a lot of like, okay, will the committee, is this person going to be competitive in the long run, is sometimes the thing. Does the committee have a strong consensus around them, or just one person sort of like the play? There's a lot that goes into it that's not going to be super satisfying in terms of like how do you cut them down. It's just a feeling sometimes. It's, where people move. Sometimes you'll ask for another reader and be like, I read this and I didn't connect to it, but I think you might, so maybe you should read it. I mean, I have to say, the staff is ridiculously amazing because describing it just sounds impossible. And it kind of is, but they never make it feel impossible. They kind of just guide you through it and you feel like, okay, this must be how it lands every time. And it does, so it's kind of amazing.
I would also say it's essential because it's like we keep learning how best to describe it, because it's important that you understand it to the degree that you can, and that with the exception of that preliminary round, which is numerical in many ways, but not without the human element, and again, a lot of assessment around like the response, that people aren't, that the intention of the meetings is not, it is to cut applicants, but it's more of, the emphasis is more on what rises up as what this group is interested in versus the more intentional cutting and eliminating of other applicants. It's more like what emerges as where they want to pay attention, where the heat is for a particular group of people, if that makes sense. Because so those meetings, whatever is taken into those meetings is discussed, and the recommendations can either be upheld or turned over based on the work of the committee itself. By the end of that first meeting, if we have 200 people at the beginning of the day, we might have 90 at the end of the day. Those 90 go back into circulation, 10 plays every 2 weeks until at least maybe 3 different committee members have read those plays, to which they bring that information into the second meeting, and all the work is discussed, and their goal of that second meeting is to make finalists. So it isn't so much about who's a good writer and who's not. It's like at that point, are you projecting them into that final conversation? And so at the end of that 15 hours, we might have 20 finalists, which then everyone reads and comes back at that final meeting, from which they pick them between 5 and 8.
So when you make the cut from 200 to 90, at that point, is everyone saying you play red?
Yes. Before the second meeting, everyone's A and B plays.
Yes.
A and B plays have been circulated and they haven't. So both plays have been read and there's more than one reader. of each act.
Let me check. Okay.
Is that clear?
Clear as
We
mud.
haven't managed to confuse you utterly, we have failed.
Before the preliminary round, guaranteed one read.
Yeah.
Before the first meeting, if all goes well, everything's had 2 reads. And by that, it's just about whether there's been any attrition on the committee, honestly.
So just, I understand that each committee is its own animal, but when you're talking about the difference in A and B, saying that what I'm hearing is it's really about voice, and the voice of A and B should pretty much match in some ways.
I wouldn't say that. It's not really what I intended to say if I accidentally said so. What I really meant was that what you are communicating to the committee with your choices of play is something you should do intentionally, right? So that they're going to read both plays. So if the voices don't match, if they're not exactly the same, if as long as you're doing that because you're like, this communicates the range of my voice, that's totally valid. But I did see people get confused about the voice sometimes.
Right.
If the voice is way disparate, or if it's, okay, this was a play written recently and this appears to be a younger play, why, it shouldn't be opaque why you made your decisions. It should be, you're communicating to people, so just do it intentionally, is kind of all I meant to say.
Okay, but presumably, possibly, there is a committee that values range, if you're sending in range,
Sure.
or, okay.
You might,
I'm just telling you about my experience.
Right. No,
I mean, the committee can be
that's
very
fine.
different, right? So one thing that I thought was really terrific that Emily did with us was that she said, okay, every committee member, what do you value? And we all sort of expressed that. And in terms of work, and I know what I valued and what everybody else in the committee valued. So we were sort of honoring each other's values as much as protecting our own, which is very, anyway, that was part of the process, and I thought it was very valuable in terms of making sure a lot of different kinds of art were represented. It may be that a committee member says, I value range or voice, right? That could happen, sure. But I would say that no matter what, you want to make sure that you're communicating clearly your voice to the committee under any circumstances. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think just not to get too caught up on, because I think I will go back to restate that what you send is what you're excited about and what represents you as a writer, even if it's different, okay? Because in those early rounds, chances are your A big play and B play are going to be read by 2 different people, and they're not going to know it's an A play or B play. That isn't going to be revealed until it's discussed. In which case, whatever contrast or similarity comes up with the 2 reads might be the thing that they get more interested in. I think just to simply say, send what you're excited about. Send what you feel represents, and don't worry. I mean, you do want to tell a story with your A and B play, but how you tell that story is the way you would tell your own story anyway. And that might be something that you would address in your letter of intent. That's the missing element versus worrying too much over the A and B play. I think you want to go with this thing that you feel in your gut is the strongest feeling, and not second guess too much what they're reading. You just want to go with what you're excited about.
What Emily said. Yeah.
Because I think I feel like that is the question, what to send, and I think you can only go with what you're excited about. Any second guessing, it will elude or evade you because there is no there. It's reconstituted every year. So there's no entity that is looking for anything except that there are 7 people who are eager to meet your work and hopefully get excited about it. And you never know who those people are. So that's go with like that makes sense.
As Emily said before, 5 of the committee members are playwrights, so that they can get it.
Yeah.
There's not a need to submit what you think they're going to want to see. It's what
Good, any more? I mean, feel free to reach out as you go through the process. This doesn't have to be the end, but this is a good beginning. Yes? All right, thank you all.